growing, and just really fun to watch, and there's so many great kids from all across the country here, and it was we were all talking in the tent beforehand. I had a great time in high. There's nothing better when you're celebrating with the 7 other guys that you travel with.
There's a look at Nico Young. I mean, so impressive how he grinded this race out, and making bold attempts on a stage like this to say, hey, if you're going to beat me, you got to run with me. You've run that style before. It takes not only the athleticism to be able to do it, but the confidence in your head to say, I can do this.
Absolutely. And it seemed like he had a great plan from the start, and I think that's really the best way to run, is to have a really concrete plan, and when you're the aggressor and you're the one taking it to everybody, there's a real confidence boost, doing that. And, I think he saw that he had a little bit of a gap early on, and then kept building, kept grinding, and saw that gap grow. And as a runner, when you're running from the front, you see that gap grow, it just pushes you even more, and you start to forget about how much you're hurting.
And last quick question, holidays are coming up. You've got a house full of kids who are probably full-on Christmas mode. Is that going to be a fun part of the December?
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. My kids are getting older, and, they know the whole Santa Claus deal and everything about the holiday, and so it's a lot of fun for sure.
Good. Well, try to enjoy it, try to stay healthy, and we'll see you in Atlanta in a few months' time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right. Galen Rupp joining us here on a wet day at Glendevere, and we're going to have him take his headset off. We'll switch out with another guy who's trying to get back into racing shape. The American record holder in the steeplechase, Evan Jagger, joining us. Got to get one of these fancy Bowerman stocking caps. Are you guys offering those in a gift shop somewhere in a warm place that I can come visit after this meet?
Online shopping. Yeah. Nice and warm from the comfort of your own home, wherever you want to shop.
I hear this internet is a kind of a big deal now.
Yeah.
So, well, welcome to a little bit of a dry conditions, not as warm as the VIP tent, but we appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
You also are coming back from injury. Give everyone a status report on how things are going.
Yeah, feeling really good now. Had a really terrible up and down year last year. Just constant injury cycle. Coming back, getting into workouts, getting injured, taking time off. Did that a couple of times. So I'm in a place now where I'm back up to full mileage, back up to full training, feeling good. It's just good to be back with the boys, training hard again, just grinding out day in and day out, and just really building that base for next year. So body feels good. I think taking a year away from real hard training and racing let a lot of other things kind of heal up and recover and rest up. So I feel very rejuvenated and obviously super excited for this coming year.
So as you reflect on that, and for those who are watching at home who may be competing and may face an injury that they've lived a very, knock on wood, healthy existence as an athlete, what's the lesson you've learned to be able to live in that moment and understand it's part of a process?
One of the big things is I do think it takes injuries to kind of realize this sometimes, just appreciating health. After having, I had an 8-year span where I was healthy, just really good training, really good racing for a long period of time, and you kind of get into the mindset of it being kind of like a job, and you forget that you should just have fun with what you're doing. And so I'm just enjoying having the ability to go out there and train really hard, push my body as hard as I can, and just kind of enjoy every day. Even the crappy days like this, when I get a chance to go for a run, I'm trying not to take it for granted. So it was really helpful for my mindset, I think, going forward for this next however many years.
Yeah, and I hear the good news is you're absolutely pummeling Chris Derrick in workouts. Is that true?
I wouldn't say pummeling. He's like 2 weeks.
That was his word, not mine.
Nah, he said he's like 2 weeks into workouts. So he's making some big fitness gains right now, coming back from his own injury. So I just happen to be in the good place of being ahead of everyone. So I'm like 7 weeks ahead of him in training. So in a couple weeks he'll get back right up next to me, and he'll be able to take it to me.
Yeah, well, we're very much glad that you could stop by and join us. We're even more excited that you're back healthy, and toughest team to make will be here soon enough. The Olympic trials coming to Eugene. That new stadium is coming up pretty nicely, and be a great stage for you. So
I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a good year.
Good. All right, Evan Jagger joining us here. We're going to have him step away. Colleen Quigley is desperate to get under the tent as she has been outside doing her duties here throughout the boys race, and she's going to transition into the commentator's position. We're going to have her put Chris Derrick's headset on, and then Rich Gonzalez is going to join us as well as we're going to transition into the preview of the girls' race here, where they're already introducing some of the teams. And Rich and Colleen, I mean, we talked a little bit after watching what Nico Young did in winning the boys' race, and that was what we were going to talk about in the context of looking back at the girls' race last year, because Caitlin Toohey did exactly what Nico Young did this year, and she's trying to come here and be the first girl ever to win 3 NXN titles.
Yeah, as she mentioned coming in that last year on the start line before the race, when she heard all the accolades on the PA system, it got her adrenaline going, and she ended up coming out faster than she wanted to. And we saw her, in a sense, tire a little bit in the latter part of the race, but she's so strong and she was so superior, it made no difference. The girls just could not reel her in.
And Colleen, you know, someone like Caitlin Toohey, I mean, everyone knows what she's coming here for, but she also knows that coming here with her are some of the best girls in the country, and so it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that a third win is going to come easy.
Yeah, you can never, you can never take it for granted. I think she realizes that. She's a veteran now. She's been here multiple times. She knows that anything could happen on race day. You know, it's super, super muddy out there right now. We saw a couple falls. I had a couple gasp moments when I was on the gator, like, oh my gosh. But, people picked themselves back up, but it turned out to be okay. But you never know. Coming around a turn and she could slip or anything could happen. I think she knows not to just, take it for granted, and she's got to earn it all over again. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see another Nico situation where she just takes from the gun hard, and no one, even if she does tire, no one's going to be able to close the gap at the later stages of the race.
Well, she's going to have to earn it, but the good news is that everyone who's here today has earned the right to be here as part of the Nike Cross Nationals in 2019. Let's begin our look around the country as the qualifiers from the different regions, and we'll start locally here in the Northwest, Rich, and a couple of squads from Portland are here, including Forest Park.
Right. In fact, it's the only region that actually had 4 teams make it. We had 2 at-larges here. Forest Park was the number 4 entry and at-large entry. You see Kate Peters on the top runner on the squad. Riley Cash, of course, she was all-state selection. So this is a really good group. It's number 4. They would be the regional champion in a number of regions this year.
And then the Portland Cross Country Club as well.
Yeah, they came on really nicely. In the last couple of years, they've had sometimes some hiccups at the regional meet. This year, it was not a problem. They were second in the state meet in the 6A division. They have Chloe Forster and Lucas Kevel, both all-state selections in Oregon.
We saw North Spokane out of the state of Washington, and then, of course, here is the story from a year ago. Central Oregon brings all those team members back here to try to win it again.
Yeah, definitely. They were a bit of a surprise for some people last year when they basically stopped the big streak going on with these New York teams and so forth. They performed very well. Coach thinks that, in a sense, this year there's no complacency. The focus is there. It's just, as he puts it, it's not. It's all about we, and everyone is sharing the load mentally, and that's why they feel so relaxed coming in.
And let's hear from Jim McClatchy now, the head coach of Central Oregon.
They've got to come get us. So, I mean, they're ready. We usually start out a little bit easy and just keep moving up, and we've done that with success, so it's worked for us in the past. I think a lot of kids go out too fast and then suffer at the tail end. We kind of feel our way into it a wee bit. I think that works better for us. We've been there and we know what it takes, and I think the kids believe in us, so it helps a lot. And then our seniors are pretty good at bringing the young kids on, so it's not like I'm a senior, you're a freshman, so you don't bother us. We work as a team, and I think that's helped a lot,
And Colleen, Jim talks about confidence. You think back as your career has progressed, winning once makes such a difference to your confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're coming back with that little bit of we deserve to be here. We deserve to have a shot at the podium. We deserve to say we want to win. It's not like a crazy thing for them to say that. But at the same time, I think I heard them say that they don't want to come back and defend their title, and they don't feel like they're, in that position. They want to come back and do even better than they did last year, build upon the success that they were able to have last year, and even do things better coming in the second time around. So definitely not complacent, really excited to see how they can do on the day with the conditions, with the team that they have that's really, really strong.
Well, conditions certainly will be a factor here as we look at some of the individual qualifiers in the Northwest region, led by Sydney Thorvaldsen.
Yeah, she's the one that really made a statement at the regional meet. She actually destroyed the course record by a pretty good amount and really blowing away the field. She's one that already was brightly on the radar. Now she's moving into that echelon of the top 4 or 5 individuals from the country.
So Sydney, again, that performance at the regionals put her very much in the mix as some of the favorites for at least All-American status this year. Let's hear from her now.
It's hard to tell. It kind of just happens as I go. But last year, I was just sick for nationals, and so I think this year I have a lot more confidence, and I'm a lot more prepared for really any way the race goes. And it can go a lot worse when you're sick. So I think I'm more prepared this year.
Well, hopefully she will be prepared for this performance here as we move from the Northwest to the Southeast region. At least will make us feel a little bit warm to talk about Fort Lauderdale.
Let's talk about the sun at least.
As Fort Lauderdale has joined the squad here, and also a nice story in Purcellville. The girls squad is here.
Yeah, definitely. We know about the boys last year. They were the national champions, and the girls squad, they dominated over in Virginia this year. Just interesting to see because they have that same mindset. We know it's worked for them the last 2 years on the boys' side. The coach thinks that they're going to be making a big move as far as upsetting some of the bigger names this weekend.
Purcellville boys finished 10th in the boys' race on the team side this year. And then Sasha Neglia, part of the talented group of individual qualifiers out of this region.
Yeah, Sasha, we saw her going ahead and doing both the last 2 weekends, both the regional meet and also at her Foot Locker regional. She's won actually, also one individual should be among the top 12 in this race this weekend.
So from the Southeast, we'll stay in the South with the South region. Most of those teams coming out of the great state of Texas, and includes another squad that had a boys squad here. That's Carroll.
Yeah, Carroll, again, we've seen many times before they've had both teams make it through. This year, the coach thinks that the girl team is a little bit better situated for the field, for the competition. See how that shakes out. But Texas always has the worst of conditions, the more they team to try and struggle to get through it. So we'll see how it works out this time.
And what about Prosper?
Prosper's a team that's really done really well down the stretch. I think they really caught some of the rivals off guard this year with how dominant they were in some of the performances. We'll see if they can sneak in the top third of the field here this weekend.
So those are the two squads from the South that have qualified, and then amongst the individual qualifiers from the South,
you see right there a total of 7 individuals, which is the deepest one we've had on the girls' side. Bryn Brown's an individual that we thought she'd be in the top 4 or 5, but then she had an injury, so she missed a lot of training time. We're not quite sure where she's going to be at. Same situation with Heidi Nielsen, one of the at-larges that's well coming off an injury, but she has good credentials from the past.
All right, staying towards the South, but now back west to California, where we talked in the boys' race about a very close finish between Temecula and Newbury Park. Well, guess what? We could have the same narrative here on the girls' side.
That's right. Those two teams are back this year. Temecula obviously has a much greater tradition on the girls' side nationally. Newbury Park is a new player on the scene this year. Both those teams were knocking heads this year. They're both state champions. Temecula in Division 1 and Newbury Park in Division 2. Also had an at-large qualifier, Clovis. Clovis very strong. They actually won the Division 1 California State meet. They were the number 1 entry.
And when you talk about California, I talk about the strength of their individual athletes. They bring a strong field of individual qualifiers to the race this year.
They do, and one that people probably are not aware of, Carly DeRoscar from the San Diego area. She actually threw down a great performance in late September at the Dana Hills Invitational. Bit off the radar, and then she really opened eyes to the California State meet, had the top time overall and throughout the whole day by, I believe, by 15 seconds, taking down some of the big names. So she's one that could really, really end up being in that very front pack today.
And Colleen, a challenge for these individual athletes is they're in many cases all by themselves.
Yeah.
They have to kind of be their own team today.
Yeah, it's really fun actually at the team dinners and when I see them around campus to see the individuals packing up. Sometimes they came up to me and I was like, oh, is this a team? And they're like, oh, no, we're the individuals from, Southeast or something. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. They come together as individuals who, need that support of a team and they still get that team feel when they're here, which is awesome to see.
Well, we go next to the Heartland region. They find this rain to be kind of cute and silly because they normally have it in a white form up in places like Minnesota and Wisconsin. And speaking of those two states, two of the the team qualifiers, Muskego and Edina.
Yeah, Muskego is a team that ended up having no problem this year getting through out of Wisconsin. I believe the temperatures were, in the teens, and the wind chill was right in the single digits this year. So obviously this for them is nothing. It's a warm day over there for them.
Our two squads from the Heartland region qualifying, and then as we talk about the individuals, this is a region that's brought some talent over the years. A strong kind of a mecca for distance running, and no difference here in 2019.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one of the names that's missing on here, actually, Anna Fensky, actually, she's one that had a really strong year individually. Team did not want to do as well, but individually doing a big factor here. I don't see anybody from the Heartland region in the top 15. We'll see how that plays out. But again, these conditions play in their favor in a sense. It's home.
But there are some tough athletes out here for sure.
And tough commentators as well. Not nearly.
I felt really tough when I was on that gator, honestly. I was like really feeling for those athletes running.
So that's a look at the Heartland region. On to the Northeast we go, and another two team qualifiers this year in Ridgewood and Hunterdon.
Yeah, Ridgewood is second at the New Jersey Meet of Champions. A really balanced team. They got a nice, tight scoring pack. Our regional champions, Hunterdon, they also prospered well at the New Jersey Meet of Champions. Chloe Gonzalez, she was the individual race winner at that event. Madeline Hoffman also was among the top 6 in that field.
And in the individual side of this Northeast region, Marley Starlipper is one of those names that has been tossed around as a potential top 5, maybe even a podium finish.
Oh, probably top 2, if not maybe the top spot. If we have not seen over the years someone as talented as Marley that can really go ahead and push and give Caitlin the type of challenge she's been starving for.
This is her first time at NXN, though, correct? So, I mean, she's got that working against her, that this is her first time dealing with all this madness.
Well, I believe we had a chance to catch up with Marley earlier in the week to talk about this first-time experience at NXN.
Yeah, I would say that I'm usually a front runner, but at big meets like this, like it's like now that we're getting into these postseason meets, there's so many other people and I may not be leading. So yeah, like I said, I'll just have to trust my instincts and see how the race goes, but I feel like I'll probably be with there's probably gonna be a really good pack. So I don't know if that's gonna be the case or not, but we'll see.
That is definitely a transition to make when you're a front runner and you get into a race with a whole bunch of front runners.
Everyone's a front runner.
And you've dealt with that at the elite level. It's a very different thing to jump into a diamond league and suddenly find yourself 5th or 6th and going, wait a minute.
Jostling, yeah, mentally that can be really tough to not have your own space to move and just feel like you have a little wiggle room. You can't even mess up by a little bit. That can be the difference between 1st and 5th.
So we move from that region now to the Midwest, with Beaver Creek as one of our featured team qualifiers out of this region.
Yeah, they were in the hunt last year as an at-large situation. They just missed out qualifying, but this year, and they're led by one of the biggest names in the country, Taylor Ewart, not only an outstanding cross-country talent, she also holds the American junior records in the race walk in any distance from the 1,500 all up to the 20K. So just amazing range for those two sports right there, and she was an Ohio State champion.
Hey, look at some of the individual qualifiers in the Midwest. Caitlin Hart name always rings supreme.
Oh, she's the big name there. She's a 3-time NXR champion. She's also a 5-time All-American. She's definitely one of those that has plenty of experience in the big races.
I know Chris Derrick would be remiss if we didn't mention a school from North Naperville.
Definitely. They're one of the teams that we do see is going to be in the hunt for the championship. They could be in the top 4 or 5 squads. They actually put together a great season from the get-go. It was one team that basically missed last year. This year, we projected to have them in among the top 5 teams in the country.
Look back to much sunnier.
Yeah, some sunny Terre Haute footage here.
As Rich Gonzalez finds the wind not to his liking, we lost his notes in the middle of that. But let's hear from North Naperville's coach as they get prepared for the race today.
Lightness about this group. They are very communicative. They talk. They keep each other calm, cool, and collected. Like the former teams too. One thing that's been unique is that they run from behind. So they're not used to being out in front. So they start from behind and then they just stay calm and patient, and then they can pick girls off as they finish the race off. So I think knowing that that's kind of what their philosophy has been this whole last season, That's all they have to do, on Saturdays, execute the same way, and they should be all super happy with the result.
We'll see how that plays out for North Naperville here at Glendoveer Golf Course. We're just a few minutes away from the start of the girls' race. Continuing on our previews, we move out to the Southwest region. Niwot is part of the trio of teams that we'll talk about here, as this is also, again, another good region, always bringing strong teams to perform well here.
It is. Coming down from altitude, we've got the top teams from Colorado and from Utah coming down. Our number 3 entry in that large qualifier from the Southwest, Niwot. We saw them do very well here last year, both team-wise and individually in both genders. A very good program on the rise in recent years. Our number 2 entry, Highlands Ranch out of Colorado. They actually surprised a lot of people at the regional meet. They actually had 2 individuals that were not eligible during the course of the year, but they were at the regional, and a little bit of a surprise. They shocked a lot of people in being one of the auto qualifiers here.
And Lone Peak, Colin, you talk about you train at altitude, come down for performance. What, if any, is it a mental advantage as much as a physical one?
I mean, I don't even know if these kids know the advantages that they have. We spend months out of the year training at altitude because of the both mental training camp aspect of it, but the physical, biological benefits that you're getting from training at a high altitude, building red blood cells, and then coming down to sea level where you have all these red blood cells that you get to use, and it's so much easier. But I don't know. I think these kids just come out here ready to run hard and race. They're not even thinking about that benefit.
Courtney Meldrum is their coach, and we had a chance to sit down with her a couple days ago.
You know what? I think they each got to just race their own individual races. Each one of them is going to have an individual race in a different pack probably in the area, and they just got to get in that pack and get in it early and race to the end. That's probably one of the only teams that knows nothing about the sport and the essence of they never know where they stand. They never know where they're ranked. They run really happy, and they're just I always tell them you got a little bit of magic. They just have a little bit of magic.
We'll see if they have some of the magic here as you get a good shot of the course here, prepping to absorb yet more rain that's been coming down pretty consistently here throughout the morning here in Portland on a rainy December Saturday. As we look at the Southwest girls on the individual side, Riley Stewart, a name on that list, and what would be an event without a ping?
And only a 9th grader, but already a 3rd time here as well.
Part
of the Pink
as a
family.
Freshman.
It's incredible.
She could go 6 times to NXN potentially. That is insane to me.
It's just boggling.
So that's our group of individuals on the southwest side of the equation, and now we move on to the probably the big story, which is the New York region. We have a 2-time defending champion we'll talk about in a moment, but we also have had a lot of champions, mainly from the same school, coming out of this region over the years. But we start with Connecticut as one of our qualifiers, and they're also a very consistent and formidable team when they come out here to compete.
They are. At the very start of the NXN era in 2004, they were our first national champions at this event. Since then, they've been back several times. So we've seen the New York teams have won in the past 13 of the 15 national titles on the girls' side. And Connecticut, this is one of their better teams. They've gone back and forth with Manlius, which was our number 1 team in the region coming in.
Look back on the regional there is
Fishkill, New York. I actually got to make it out there for the regional meet in New York this year for New York and Northeast. It was a cold day, but much less rain than today.
And Manlius, 11 times, didn't win last year, and come back probably with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Oh, definitely. And Bill Ayers, their coach, always kind of hides his cards in a sense, but the kids are always coming out ready. This is a squad that, again, Connecticut was one of the teams that was one of the big challengers for Central Oregon coming in, but it's a situation that Manlius has come up and beaten them twice in recent weeks in local competition.
Well, 11 times they've come to Portland and come away with an NXN title. And as you said, Coach Bill Ayers always ready to put his teams in a position to win, and thinks that will be the case again in 2019.
Upfront killers like senior Claire Walters and Phoebe White, and a few newcomers, not newcomers, but young veterans that have come on very well. And then some very new faces that have been improving gradually through the season that have shown some signs of significant improvement over the last few weeks. So it's not in the context of some of our past great teams, one of high density, great compression, all the same. It's disparate and different. But together, here we are, so we must be doing something right.
Oh, yes, Bill, you are doing something right. And
Again
do it
and again.
again and again. Rinse and repeat. Claire Walters, he mentioned specifically, and one of the top individuals coming out of this group as well.
Yeah, she's been one of those that's been keeping Caitlin Toohey inside in races, and that's not an easy thing to do. We've seen that. But he mentioned also Phoebe White. This region is loaded individually. Obviously, we'll talk about Caitlin in a minute, but also another one, Brooke Robber from Tully in New York, also an outstanding season. A lot of big, heavy hitters individually in this region.
So we talk about Walters and we talk about Robber, and we see some of the highlights here from that regional. Caitlin Toohey obviously is where we get to at the end of this story, and already a historic set of performances here on this course. Course record again last year, very bold move. She said she went out a little bit too fast, but Colleen, what impresses you most about this young woman?
I mean, Caitlin, I love speaking to her at regional. Like I said, I was at regionals, and she just seems like she's so calm, cool, collected. She speaks really well. She's actually mentioned that while she does not want to talk about where she's going to school next year, she made that very clear to me. She has it down to 3, but she's not ready to say. But she said she hadn't even thought about going pro. Everyone kept asking her, are you going to go pro after high school? And she was like, that wasn't even a consideration. So I'm just continually impressed with her maturity and the way that she handles all the pressure and everyone talking about her constantly over and over again. She seems to just be super mature about it.
And a 3-time winner at a national championship is something we've really never talked about before in the context of girls cross country.
It'll be the first time ever, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we've seen the great ones over the years, but what makes her special is the fact that she is so well grounded, has a great support system around here. I mean, she admitted that all the attention on her sometimes can almost seem a bit overwhelming. She has always kept it in perspective. Tremendous character for a youngster, and then of course once the gun goes off, it's something that we haven't seen before.
Well, when the gun went off last year, it was pretty clear that she had decided that she was going to take this out very quickly. As we go back to the highlights of that as she comes up over that final couple of rises, and really no one within challenging of her. I mean, at least there was somebody in the distance, but another course record for her and a dominant performance, and we'll see what her strategy is. I guess probably very early on we'll get a sense of what she's decided to do on this day, given the conditions.
Yeah, and she mentioned the fact that, once again, the fact that she's going to try not to be as aggressive. At the same time, she is more fit. She is stronger, so we're kind of all waiting anticipation at what level is she at physically now, at what point in, because we've seen her make big breakthroughs on the biggest stage, and of course right here is the biggest one of all in our sport.
Yeah, and as Colleen said, a very mature young woman, really understands the moment here in front of her to set some history here on this course at Glendoveer, and we had a chance to talk to her a couple of days ago about the chances for the three-peat.
Yeah, this race is so fun and it's awesome. It's kind of just cool getting to meet athletes from all over the country, but it's definitely learned me how to be competitive, taught me how to be competitive. I learn so much every time I race here. So, it's my senior year, so I'm just trying to have fun and, enjoy the weekend with my friends. Yeah, I think last year I went out a little too hard, so this year I'm going to try to go out a little bit more conservative and pick up my pace as I go along. But yeah, just last year I got to see the course another time, which was just good for the memory bank, and hopefully I could do something similar than I did last year.
I mean, that familiarity is certainly an advantage for her, along with the talent, and she gets ready to line up here for what will be her last appearance, once we enter a college division in NXN. It's, again, an opportunity to reflect on what is also the case here, not just the Caitlin Tooheys, the Nico Youngs, who won the boys' race just a while ago. This is such a deep field in 2019, so the fact that she's going to come with the opportunity to win that third, she's going to have to beat the best field she's ever had to beat in order to win 3 times in a row.
There are 41 state champion individuals in this particular race right here, 41. Blows away the old record. We've had some talent in some states that they're at all-time highs, so this is the best competition we've had individually without a doubt, and then team-wise it's going to be really, it'll be really tight. It should be really tight.
Well, Colleen, I know you'd rather run 7.5 laps with some barriers in front of you, maybe a little bit of water every lap or so, but as we look back on this course map, you had a chance to be out on the Gator for the boys' race. Talk about this course and what these what these runners are going to have ahead of them here over the next 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty sloppy out there. Definitely a few points where it was straight on puddles. I like that it's loops. That's easier to break it up, I think, for just mentally, like loop 1, loop 2, and then just a quick little mini loop to the finish. It's not that hilly. I've never run this course before, so I was, on the gator kind of seeing it for the first time. I thought it was going to be hillier, and I've heard a lot of the athletes after their regional meet talking about, the national meet will be nothing compared to our regional meet because our regional meet is so hard. And I was kind of like, psh, that's a hard course. But they're right that it's not super, super hilly. There's just a couple points in the back that get really quiet back there. There's not very many spectators. And there's, a couple hills back there too. So I think just staying focused at that point, staying connected will be really key for these guys, or for these gals.
Well, in their final moments of preparation, this will serve as the last race of the webcast. There is a community race that follows, a real celebration of the sport of cross country as we get to the end of a very long season. But as this event has continued to grow in stature, and you talk about the number of state championship teams, the number of state championship individuals, for every one of these athletes, this is such a wonderful, they all come here as winners because they've qualified and have the right to be here as part of this this national championship group of runners. And someone who had a great perspective on that, who's brought a lot of teams here over the years, is Bill Ayers. Let's go back to him where he comments on what he thinks this event means to the competitors.
I think the kids that come back, kids, young men and women now, some of them going back to 04. In fact, I just got a wedding invitation for one of them from 04's team. They still remarkably refer to this and think about it as some of their most joyous moments when they were young, and they still reflect on it and cherish them. Going back for my guys, the Stotons from 2004, they still talk about it and talk about that team and that year, and they're all 30 years old now, and similar goes for the girls. What became apparent to me, almost surprisingly so, is when Mark Bloom and I came out with our book in August, titled "Amazing Racers," about that great decade of ours from 04 to 14, with an epilogue from 15, 16, 17, and 18. In our research of it, in Mark's fine writing of it, came forth just how deep and meaningful those experiences were for so many kids, and it's included and shared in there. So it was nice memories, honestly, and hopefully these kids that are here now will reflect on it years from now and reflect on nice memories as well.
Rich, there was a great comment made at the opening ceremonies where it was suggested that maybe today will be the best day of the lives of these kids as of today, that this is an opportunity for them to celebrate all that they've done for the course of this season and then use it as a springboard, however they lead their life, whether they continue on in the sport or just continue on in life in general.
Right. I mean, obviously, not only have they really sacrificed and worked hard to get to where they're at physically, but also they've had a chance to share that with their teammates, with their best friends, and build that kind of camaraderie and that unity there, which is always so special when you can share something, with someone else like this.
And Colleen, win, lose, or draw for these kids. I mean, you've used opportunities, I'm sure, at the biggest of stages now to use to get better the next day. So what would your your moment of advice be for these kids as they get ready to step on the line? May not win today, but they belong here and they can use this as a springboard to great things.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I've had some great days on the cross-country course and some not so great days. So I'm sure there'll be some of a mixed bag for all these kids out here. But I think it's just important to remember that even though this is a huge opportunity, it's a huge day, for every single person out there, every single runner, it's not their last race ever. And so there's always something to learn. There's always something something to take away from it, good or bad, no matter if you are super happy or super pissed. Sometimes even when I end the race feeling just like defeated, I end up stepping back a couple days later and really being able to take something important away from that and just get better for the next time. So I think all these kids know that, and a lot of them have been here before, so they know that they can learn from a big opportunity like this.
Well, as we go down all the boxes here, the last chance for them to say hello to the viewers at home. There are reigning champions from Central Oregon. The hometown squad was able to hold serve last year. Can they do it again? It'll be the deepest field any team who has a championship has had to face to defend their title as the 2019 Nike Cross Nationals girls race set to begin.
There they go.
As the racers are now out on the course, the spectators begin their own race to find different parts of the course here at Glendeveer Golf Course to watch. And you can just see what the rain has now done to the conditions here in the opening 100 meters of this race. And, again, to get out there in the front of the pack advantages you because you don't have to face not only the splashes, but the splashes from the groups in front of you.
And hopefully then you can kind of choose a more clear path as well. Maybe not go straight through the middle of the puddle, maybe go a little bit around the edge.
And just coming into picture now and grabbing the lead as she has done in her previous trips around this 5-kilometer course, Caitlin Toohey to the lead.
Wasting no time.
Now, last year we saw at this point right here, she was already beginning to gap the field a little bit more, even this early into the race. So it's not quite as much. Again, part of the field is so strong, but at the same time, she wanted to be a bit more careful and not be overly aggressive at the start.
This is a huge race, and obviously a ton of people out here. I think it would be really easy to just let the adrenaline get to you and get out kind of aggressively like she did last year. I could easily see how that would happen.
Well, this is her 5th appearance at Nike Cross National. Started as an 8th grader when she finished 49th and then 13th as a freshman and turned that experience into successful trips to the finish line in 2017 and 2018 as she broke the course record again last year. The group that follows her staying within a few strides of her as we near the 2-minute mark early in the race, and we already have one of our first athletes down, and that can be dangerous not only for her but also the athletes behind her. But it looks like she was able to get up and is back on her 2 feet. Caitlin Hart wearing bib number 19 and center of picture, one of the top individuals out of the Midwest region. 4-time Illinois 3A state champion, was 4th at NXN back in 2017. Disappointing finish last year, finishing in 16th position. Would like nothing more to come back and have a strong performance here in 2019. Also Sydney Thorvaldsen among the leaders here early on in the race as we get a good shot of them coming to the next good spectator position as Toohey continues to lead.
See also up front, I believe in 4th place currently is Taylor Ewert out of Ohio, out of Beaver Creek. She's one of the main contenders coming in. Again, the record holder in the race walk as well. 1,500 to the 20K.
Yeah, I talked to Taylor yesterday, and one of their teammates was in a boot when they were walking around the team hospitality. So I feel like she really wants to do well to lead her team and try and make up for that difference for a woman down in their squad.
Well, a little bit more of a race here early on in the 2019 edition of the Nike Cross Nationals. Caitlin Toohey still in the lead ahead of Sydney Thorvaldsen. As let's head out onto the course now and check in with our Chris Derrick.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Sydney Thorvaldsen is really up for this. She went out really hard in her regional race, and she's matching that today. I'm also really impressed by Claire Walters in 3rd from Manlius. She's, of course, the most familiar with Caitlin Toohey, having raced her multiple times in her state. The course out here is treacherous. I nearly fell walking over to the start line. There's just a lot of really loose topsoil. So hopefully our favorites here can stay on their feet And I also see Marley Starlipper now is starting to move up. She was maybe our second favorite. She's getting back into contact with Caitlin Toohey, who's going to have a lot more company than she's used to here at this race.
And usually we don't see Caitlin throwing a look this early
I
into a
saw
race.
that.
And I'm wondering what her thoughts were when she turned around and there's people right behind her.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen her do that. Look over her shoulder like that with, 4 minutes into the race.
And when you're chasing someone, that really helps. When they're looking back at you, you know that basically you're on their mind.
Yeah. I wonder if she's going to start pouring on a little more speed now. Does that worry her, or is she just, keeping track?
Throws off the gloves and gets right down to it.
Just like, all right.
Again, from the regional meets, I would say the one that probably had the most impressive performance at the regional meet was Thorvaldsen in the Northwest Regional when she blew away the course record there.
I love how these girls are not afraid of Caitlin Toohey. I mean, they're just right after her.
Yep.
That's impressive. That they know her stats. They know she's the course record holder. They know she dominates every race. But they're not letting that scare her, especially with some crazy course conditions out here. It's really impressive that they've come out ready to play.
Right. Yep.
5 seconds now.
3-second advantage on the field in the boys' race at the first mile. Caitlin Toohey's lead over Thorvaldsen is just a second as they come across the mat here in the opening mile of this girls' championship race.
It looks like the course conditions have significantly worsened since I was out there for the boys' race. The puddles are now lakes. This is just amazing. I personally have never raced in conditions like this. I can't imagine. My feet get wet when I steeplechase, but then they dry out fairly quickly as I'm going around the track. These girls' shoes must just be absolute puddles.
Behind Toohey. A strong group in that top 10 position. Saw Fiona Max from Central Oregon trying to be strong for her team's goal of repeating as champion. She came through in 8th position. Starlipper in the top 5. We talked about her in the preview of the broadcast as well. But you can see a little bit of separation now from that top 5 group and the rest of the field in the top 10.
And also very interesting team-wise at that first mile split on the scoring. 2 New York teams on top. Kinetic currently in the lead at 244 over Manlius in second at 263. Then a big gap of over 100 points to third. Our defending champion, Central Oregon.
We'll put those leaders on the screen for you and cycle through back to the top 7 here in a moment. This at the 1 mile mark. And just as we note here, on the team side, at the individual side, Caitlin Toohey now seems to have extended her lead slightly over the rest of the field. Thorvaldsen now got a little bit of company here, battling for that second position. Taylor Ewart in the blue, and then Claire Walters of Manlius now moving up into that second position.
And right here, down pack, this is basically where the championship is decided. We have a situation in cross-country or sports like no other. We have the front runners who get the headlines, but it's your 3 and especially your 4 and 5 scorers. Those are the ones that determine the team championship. Those are the unsung heroes that really close the door in getting those titles.
Starlipper there, last in that group of 4. Again, the 4 women behind Caitlin Toohey, who still has the lead. Chris Derrick, conditions are deteriorating with every kilometer. What do you see out there?
I was going to come to you with a comment that one of the coaches had just yelled to this group of 4 that Caitlin was looking tired, she was vulnerable, time to seize the moment. But just after that, she really stepped on the gas. Thorvaldsen, she is fading a little bit, as she did a little bit at her regional. She does like to go out really hard. Starlipper has not really touched the front of this group at all, so she could possibly be ready to launch herself from here. And I think Fiona Max for Central Oregon is a little closer to Claire Walters than I would have expected.
It's interesting. We know that coming in, Tui has the best strength of the runners in the field. So this kind of pitcher's condition could play in her favor, and she was more conservative early on. Now she's trying to drop the hammer.
It's pretty impressive that Kinetic already has 20 points in the lead. Their coach had said that they prefer to go out a little more conservative side and then really, have a strong finish. But they're obviously already got a good lead. So if they continue to do that and finish even stronger, they will handedly take the win.
Well, and again, a reminder, it was just a second difference between Caitlin Tui and the rest of the field at the 1 mile mark, and she is using this second mile to create some separation from that group, though they are still within striking distance here as the remainder of the field works their way down near the 10-minute mark, gets to the rise here on the race course, where very much will follow the race for the team championship with a couple of former champions at the 1 mile mark with the top 2 positions in Kinetic and Manlius, and last year's champion Central Oregon in third.
And appearance-wise, this is the Caitlin Tui we're used to, the nice, strong, powerful strides. But the interesting thing is these trailing 4 here, they're all still looking pretty strong. They're not really falling apart. In the past, we've seen individuals that really begin to implode once she puts the pedal to the metal. Right here, these girls are hanging tough, still running strong individual races among themselves.
Yeah, Taylor Ewart looks really good. She just looks strong. She has that look of determination on her face that is relaxed, where you can see her face looks relaxed, but also is very focused.
Well, a lot of decisions upcoming for Caitlin Tui, not the least of which is her college choice. Colleen, you tried to get a little insider knowledge, but at this point, news to come at her decision
I was trying. She said top 3, and I said, okay, what are the 3? She said, nope, not telling you. We were trying to get it out of her, but I think she's having a little bit of fun with the reveal possibly and building that anticipation. So I said, good for you. And I said, anything that you do or don't want to be asked if I get to interview after. And she said, don't ask about college. I made her a promise. So if I see her later, we will have to think about something else to talk about.
Well, a lot of these young women will be stepping up to the next level here very soon, as a lot of decisions are being made in the recruiting season ahead for the class of 2024 at the collegiate level. And Caitlin Tui now focused on what is ahead of her over the last 1.5 kilometers, which is trying to come to the finish line and become the first to ever win 3 Nike Cross National titles. Chris Derrick, what do you got for us?
Well, Caitlin looks really great. I think she attacked the field or made another move on the field right when the course was getting tough, and she's really widened up that gap. I think Taylor Ewart realized there in the last kilometer that if she wants to have a chance to win her first national title, she was going to have to try to break away from that group of 4. But at this point, Caitlin looks phenomenal, and the turnover and a stride length really hasn't changed over the last K.
Yeah, she just gets in a rhythm, and that's just a rhythm that no one can match.
Yeah, we've seen that over both on the track and on the course. She just has another gear that she can hold on seemingly for infinity.
We did see her sneak another little look over the shoulder there, right when Chris was talking. This is the second time. Every time we ask Chris, how's she doing? She seems to sneak a peek over her shoulder. So I think she's definitely aware of the girls behind her, and she's, she doesn't want to be overconfident or make any mistakes. So she's keeping an eye out.
As strong as she is, I think she is a little bit surprised as she looks back and she sees girls not too far behind.
Yeah, Taylor's having a great run today.
Taylor Ewart now making her move as she is grabbing a hold of second place ahead of Torvaldsen.
And we saw Starlip, I believe she was in 4th. She actually looked the best among those in that chase back, physically the best one among those. We saw from California, Carly Daraskar now moving also to the top 6, moving up on that chase pack.
Tui set the course record a year ago, 16:37, as you see at the 2 mile mark. Kinetic with the lead as Niwot has made a strong move up into 2nd. Central Oregon holding on in 3rd position, and Manlius falling from 2nd to 4th, again at the 2 mile mark.
We just saw a few seconds ago, we saw that Caitlin came up on a large puddle and she went around it to make sure that there's no unsure footing that can cost her significant time if she takes a spill. So very wise, very smart, but still obviously also very, 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 very focused coming in. She knows this is probably the best challenge she's ever had to face against high schoolers, and she's holding together very well.
Now taking a command of this race here in the latter stages after going in much more conservative fashion in this 2019 edition. But as you can see now, center of picture, still a couple of people in chase mode along with Thorvaldsen. That's Taylor Ewart, who is in second.
This is a great testament right here, just to the quality of the field. Look at that, the movement coming up right now with about less than 800 meters to go coming in.
And Thorvaldsen now going to make a move and challenge again for second. You can see not much strong turf underneath them as they make that turn. And as you mentioned, when it came to the puddles, it was staying out of the way. And now that's the same approach that Caitlin Toohey is taking with the mud puddles as well. Chris, anything else before we get to the finish?
Well, I'm done trying to predict what's going to happen because every time I open my mouth, I jinx it. But it has been an absolute battle here the last K. Around that corner, coming by the finish line, Caitlin looked back. She saw how close they were. I think she was really surprised. You started to see the arms go a little higher. She's been working really hard, but the two behind her are not fresh either. Frankly, I have no idea what's going to happen, but it has been an absolute war out here, and it has just been an honor and a privilege to watch.
It's so hard. I feel like at this point they're trying to gun. They're trying to give it their last bit, but at the same time, the worst thing that could happen right now would be to go too hard, to change your stride and slip and fall, and then it's game over. So I feel like that's just a really hard, line to just. I want to push it, but I also don't want to go too far and end up on my face.
But these girls in the chase back, they're not defensive at all whatsoever. We see the great duel right now for second. Taylor Ewart as well as Steve Thorvaldsen coming up and trying to go ahead and keep Caitlin in view here.
And Thorvaldsen is now making another move as they will now battle up, closing in on those last two rises of the hill as she is now taking control of second position and trying to make that strong move. And you can see that Ewart started to look behind as now we have a race coming into the final stretches of this race.
This is not over.
I don't know if it was that angle, but Caitlin Toohey looks exhausted.
Oh, look at that. They reeled her in. They have reeled her in. It's going to come
possible?
right down to the finish.
I think we might see something no one ever would have thought would have happened right now.
Well, Caitlin Toohey trying to find a gear to hold off the rest of the field.
It's close.
Oh, wow, look at this. They're coming right in tight.
Caitlin Toohey trying to win a third consecutive Nike Cross National title.
They're making her work for it. She's going to do it.
Got to keep that footing all the way through.
Caitlin Toohey.
For second.
Caitlin Toohey, a three-time Nike Cross Nationals champion, winning by less than a second over Taylor Ewart. And Sydney Thorvaldsen will finish in third. A second between places 1, 2, and 3.
Taylor and Sydney really made her work for it and made an exciting race out there today. Wow, that was incredible. Now we just get to watch the carnage as they come in, toppling over one another.
I think you enjoy that
I love this part. It's so funny. I did the same thing at the regional meet. There's puke, there's spit. It's just disgusting and hilarious.
And now about a minute behind the leaders. Now we see really the team battle beginning to play out right here.
Yeah, this is where the team victory is made right here. You have your top gun, your low stick, but then really, really matters where, 3, 4, 5 finish.
And look at this, right around 18:45, about 10 seconds from now, we're going to see a big, big group crossing through of team scorers.
I love to see this. I've seen a couple now, athletes from different schools helping competitors get out of the way if they're struggling once they cross the finish line. Someone from a different school putting an arm around them, lifting them up, and kind of carrying them to the side. It's really a cool camaraderie thing as a good sportsman that you see out here with cross-country runners.
Well, the line they always use for this event is finish on empty, and I think for a lot of these young women, it's the realization as they come across the line that a very long but very successful cross-country season has come to an end in these rainy and cold conditions at Glendoveer. The team title still up for grabs as we keep watching for those 4th and 5th runners from the respective top teams. Again, Kinetic was leading through the 2-mile mark. We'll await official results here when we have the final results scored from the timers, and then bring the top 3 individual finishers and the top 3 teams to the stage for trophy presentations. But nearing now 20 minutes in, still waiting for those last runners to come across the line here at Nike Cross National. But as we get a great shot here of the finish line and folks regrouping.
A lot of muddy, sweaty, wet hugs going on out there.
We see Chris Derrick there in the masses. We'll get him shortly for a few interviews as we await the official results.
You can see literally the steam coming off of these athletes. It's incredible. They're warm from running. I'm not thinking about hopping in that community race just to warm up here. It's the worst just standing. It's much warmer when you're running around.
One of the things to watch, we mentioned at the mile mark, we had a couple of the New York teams on the very top of the standings, and you had mentioned in speaking with the Cranics, the coaching Cranics, coming into the weekend, they said that they're more of a reserve team until the latter half of the race. So we'll see if they were able to execute that as well today or not.
It can be tough to do, like I said before, the adrenaline of being at nationals and stuff. Sometimes you get out quicker than you mean to, just because of all the excitement. The gun goes off, you get caught up in all that, and then it's just a matter of, can you hold on to that throughout the whole race and still finish strong, or do you end up fading?
Oftentimes in past years at this scene right here, we see, in all honesty, a lot of kids that sometimes are pretty heartbroken with how they did. We're not seeing that this year. I think these kids are coming away feeling really good that they did put it all out there. They did finish on empty. There's a lot of great team camaraderie and support right now.
And I think also just with the conditions, you do the best you can. You do everything you can. You cross the finish line, you're like, well, I gave it my all, and what happens. You kind of have to just learn to let go of the result a little bit and just be happy with the effort that you gave, knowing that you wouldn't have done anything different. It was just what you had on the day.
Right, definitely. We saw a lot of courageous performances, big moves, big risks taken on in that lead pack, in that chase pack early on.
Well, I'm talking about courageous performances. Chris Derrick survives his ride around the course in the Gator, and he's now celebrating at the finish line.
I am indeed happy to be out of the Gator. I think not as happy as these ladies are to be across the finish line. What were the conditions like out there today?
It was super muddy. It was just super packed. We're not used to having a bunch of people around us. And so, it was so muddy, so rainy. It's kind of hard, footing and stuff. But
Did everyone stay on their feet around you guys, or did we see any fallers out there?
Around me, everyone stayed on their feet just fine. I know we watched the guys race and some people fell, so we were like, okay, let's make sure if we do fall, to get right back up and keep on going. But no one fell around me, so I was pretty happy to see that.
All right. And Taylor, obviously, you were involved in a pretty epic race. You've raced Caitlin a number of times. At what point in the race did you feel like you had a chance to win?
Honestly, the whole time I wasn't really sure. There's a lot of competitive girls out here, and I knew it was going to be close. So even with the 400 to go, I wasn't sure. And I knew that coming up to this race, we had planned to make a big move on that last hill and just kick like hell that last little bit. So when I was there, I just kept kicking, and I don't know. I just can't believe it. I'm so excited.
Well, it was a truly awesome race to watch, especially up close. To finish out with you guys, I'd like to hear a little bit about this story and maybe about how, you know, the people back home have supported you guys on your way here.
Yeah, so I ended up breaking my foot a couple days before Midwest, and, you know, we never knew. So going in, I knew something was up. I was like, man, this is hurting at Midwest, but it was all about getting these girls here and running that race for them. So we got through and then found it was broken a couple days later. But being here is great. Watching Taylor do that, watching all these girls do that is insane. And all the girls back home cheering for us, I know it's so great to see that camaraderie like all over the nation.
That's some Midwest toughness. What do you know about that, Rich? But they are tough, but we need to get them dry and warm, so we're going to throw it over to Colleen.
Hey guys, I'm here with the Portland team. I actually shared dinner with these girls last night, some classic pasta the night before the race, and they were telling me about how we had some new girls, actually an athlete who came in from playing volleyball, normally plays volleyball in the fall, and decided to come out here and run around in the rain instead. So some new athletes, some young athletes. How did you guys manage throughout the year to kind of come together as a team, work everything out, and then come and actually make it to nationals and compete here?
Yeah, I would say we just really all came together and worked hard, and we all got to know each other really well and became really close. So I feel like we all just molded together into a really great team.
And you guys had to wait, so after your regional meet, you were third, right? And you had to wait 2 weeks to find out if they were going to be here or not. How did you guys manage that crazy 2 weeks of not knowing?
It was really hard, but we all worked together throughout all the tough workouts. We all showed up every single day to support Chloe, whether she was just going by herself or if it was a team. We just all really worked together.
And how are you going to celebrate now? The season's over. This is it. What's happening tonight? How are you going to celebrate a big season?
We're about to go to the after party for NXN, so that'll be a lot of fun. And I think that we'll still definitely stay close and try and hang out, even though we'll be not training together for the next 2 weeks. I think we'll try to stay close for that time.
Amazing. Well, congratulations, girls. Have fun tonight. I heard there's a big dance. Awesome. Congrats, Portland. Now we got Chris with another group.
This is the only group I could get to stick around. Everyone else wanted to go get warm. But Central Oregon's a tough crew. Guys, obviously you were here last year because you won last year. How did the conditions in the race compare today?
I mean, yesterday we were previewing the course, and, we were like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. Do-do-do. And then we get here, we're like, oh, okay, all right, Portland. But you can't expect anything different. You have to be... you got to be like, all right, well, we have some lemons to work with. Let's just make lemonade.
So how was the lemonade tasting? I don't know if that's the right metaphor, but how did you feel like that process went out there as you guys kind of come back in here and talk after the race?
I think that it went pretty well. Would you guys say well? Yeah, I think well. It was definitely really muddy, and I almost fell a few times, but I think that we're all just happy to be out here, and we're really glad that we got to run on this very muddy course. And hopefully the lemonade is good.
All right, guys. You guys have obviously had a tremendous run here as a team. Is there anybody back home you'd like to thank or shout out before we sign off?
I mean, shout out to all our coaches. Obviously, we would not be here without them. They show up every day, whether it's raining, snowing, Armageddon, I don't even know. But they're there in their puffy pants. And so honestly, shout out to everyone back at home. Carrie Strang, Dave Sjogren, Jim and Carol McClatchy, Andy Fleming, Damien. I don't know your last name, Damien. Dave.
He doesn't have
Love you all.
All right, well, we got lemonade and Armageddon with the Central Oregon girls. Hopefully they can go get warm, and hopefully the results turn in their favor.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chris. As the crowd now gathering by the awards area, we'll have the presentations of the top 3 awards here momentarily. Just a note to my production staff, I think we're waiting for my mic to go out to the crowd. Now it's up and running, so we'll have Colleen Quigley join us for the presentations of awards as we'll bring up our top 3 individual finishers here. All right, first, before we introduce them, how about a hand for all of our girls finishers today? And we'll celebrate the All-American status at the awards ceremony later on tonight, but we're going to honor these top 3 finishers here. First, please congratulate our third-place finisher, Sydney Thorvaldsen. The 2019 NXN runner-up, Taylor Ewart. And our 2019 NXN champion, the first ever to win this event 3 times. Congratulations to Caitlin Toohey. Quick photo op here, and then we'll get a word with Caitlin. All right, hopefully my photographers are happy. Can I step in? I'm just doing my job. Caitlin, why don't you step forward here for a second? And, obviously this was a race that was important to you, coming with a chance to win 3 straight. A little different strategy this year, and you made it exciting at the end.
Yeah, this year, I don't know, I was really stressed out before the race, and it kind of affected how I felt during the race, but I'm just really happy that I was able to mentally tough it out the last 200 meters, because I was really hurting.
And you've been here several times, the last 3 obviously victorious, but on behalf of these other 2 young ladies behind you, this was the toughest win because this was the toughest field you've ever had to face, hasn't it?
By far, all the women who competed today are just phenomenal athletes, and it's really motivating coming out here the whole weekend and seeing everyone and seeing all the teams. So I was really happy that I was able to meet all these girls this weekend because, like I said, they're all phenomenal athletes, and I made a lot of friends.
Well, on behalf of everyone here at NXN, thanks for coming out here every year. Thanks for putting on a great show, and congratulations, 3 straight wins.
Thank you.
Caitlin Toohey, winner of our 2019 NXN Championship. A good look back on that finish of the race, and what an epic finish it was, as we had the closest finish in NXN girls race with just a second between first, second, and third. Our 3 teams that will come up to the podium have been notified here. We'll bring them up on the stage here shortly for the presentation of our team awards. Chris Derrick is back with us. Rich Gonzalez with his headset back on. Rich, as we get ready for this team presentation on the girls' side, reflect on Caitlin's victory here for a moment.
It was impressive in so many ways. First off, we saw the fact that she wanted to try and go ahead and have more balanced effort, it seemed, but we saw the fact that there were a couple of times, for the first time I ever saw, she twice threw a look behind her during the race and saw people nearby, and that had to be a bit concerning, I'm sure. When she looked like at 2 mile mark, she picked up the pace, looked stronger, began to pull away, and then they reeled her back in again. She threw another look, and once again, I'm sure she was thinking, what's going on here? But even with her third title, it also felt very, very sweet because it was clearly her biggest challenge, and she handled it very well.
All right, we're bringing up on stage in alphabetical order our top 3 finishers. Central Oregon, Kinetic, and Niwot. And Colleen is back for trophies. And for our top 3 teams, before we present you guys the top 3 awards, will you please congratulate this crowd for being out here to support you? All right. Our third place finishers with 171 points. Niwot. Congratulations. We were one of our at-large teams this year, performed very, very well in finishing in third. The 2019 Nike Cross National runners-up with 160 points. Central Oregon. That means the 2019 Nike Cross National champions with 78 points, Kinetic. All right, I'm going to step in here. That trophy, don't drop it, please. All right, I'm going to come over here because you're not holding a trophy, but you're freezing. Just talk to us about what this victory means to this squad.
It means so much. I'm so proud of all of us.
And you guys are no strangers. You know, there's a lot of heritage for Kinetic coming out here and winning some hardware. Where did you guys feel like the confidence came for this season to come out here and maybe win this thing?
We had so much to prove with a lot of really good athletes graduating, and we're so young. We just really wanted to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations. Get warm. And congratulations to the girls champions at NXN in 2019, Kinetic. Well, Rich, an impressive win for Kinetic as they get under that magical 100-point barrier and then some. 78 points, a very dominating performance. And they were in that position from the get-go. They went out as a team and performed very well early on and all the way to the end. Yeah,
they had the score of the defending champions going 78 to 160. So winning by 82 points. Again, it's not easy when you have the big gorilla in the room come championship time in Manlius as one of your neighbors, and they beat you twice down the stretch, and this group came out in the biggest stage. Did really, really well. That's a lot. Great deal.
And a great performance by Central Oregon, coming back from a win last year. They get on the podium again in 2019, finishing